Hello students and families. Today we are going to be doing an integrated art lesson based on the book The Rainbow Fish by Marcus Pfister. Today we are going to be discussing the topics of warm colors and cool colors, as well as textures when creating art and creating art based off of literature. Before we start, I want to mention that I will be asking questions or having you go find things within your home throughout the process of this video. So if you need to pause, feel free to do so at any time. Before we begin, I want you guys to discuss with your parents or your caregivers about colors. I want you guys to talk about warm colors, cool colors, what you think those might be, and about textures. That's kind of a hard word to say, textures. But I want you to see if you guys can find anything in your home that has warm colors in it, cool colors in it, different textures in it, or maybe all three. Now we are going to read the book. As we read this book, I want you guys to look for those things in here too. I want you guys to look for all three of those categories and see what you can find as we read this book. The rainbow fish was the most beautiful fish in the sea, but he never played with the other fish. I am too beautiful, he thought. See if you can find rainbow fish on one of these pages. Once a little blue fish asked for one of his shining scales, but the rainbow fish just laughed. "Haha, never," he said. After that, the other fish swam away from him. The rainbow fish was all alone. He went to the starfish for help. "Why doesn't anybody like me?" he asked. "Go ask the octopus," said the starfish. "She is very wise." The octopus said, "Give away your shining scales. You won't be as beautiful, but you will have friends." "I can't do that," cried the rainbow fish. Suddenly, the little blue fish was back. "Please," he said, "could I have just one scale?" Well, the rainbow fish thought first. Maybe just one tiny little scale. The little blue fish was so pleased it made the rainbow fish feel happy. Soon all the fish came and the rainbow fish gave away his scales one by one. Finally, he had only one shining scale left. But now, as he swam off to play with his friends, he was the happiest fish in the sea. And that is our book. Now, you guys, there are some other things I want you to discuss and talk about with your parents or your caregivers. One of those things is, in the beginning of this book, what were the differences that you saw between the rainbow fish and the other fish? And how did they look similar? And also, how did they look different? Second, I want you guys to discuss all of the things you saw out of the categories we talked about. If you saw cool colors, warm colors, textures, what did you see as I was reading this book to you? And finally, I want you to talk about what he might have been feeling at the beginning of the book versus what he might have been feeling at the end of the book, and what made him feel so happy. Again, feel free to pause the video at any time to talk about these topics. Now we are going to move on to our artwork. So first, all of the materials that you're going to need are some paint, but specifically warm colors and cool colors. We're going to need some paint brushes, a black marker, some glue. This is Glitter's glue, but Elmer's glue or any other kind will work just fine. And lastly, we have our different textured items. So after we do the first portion of our artwork, I'm gonna have you guys pause the video again and go have a little scavenger hunt through your home to see what kind of textured items you can find to add to our artwork. Here I have bobby pins, buttons, and yarn, but what I have might be different from what you have. And what you have is what's gonna make your fish look so unique. So the first step of this process is we are going to paint our hands. We are going to paint our hands, and we're going to paint them with our warm colors and our cool colors. Now, the only rule is that we have to have at least a little bit of both on our hands. So that means if I wanted to, I could paint my whole hand red and just my little fingertip blue. Or I could paint half of my hand red and half of my hand blue. It is up to you, and that's what also makes it unique. But it has to have both a warm color and a cool color on there. So let's paint our hands together. I am going to make my hand red, all red, with a blue stripe in the middle. And the best way to do this, families, is to have a wet washcloth or maybe a wet paper towel ready to go after we put our handprints down. So as you can see, I've painted my hand some red, and now I'm gonna add the blue. The red is my warm tone, and the blue is my cool tone. So I'm just finishing adding up these colors together, and then I'm going to place them on my paper. So I believe that the best way to do this, you guys, is to take your hand and put it right in front of your face. It doesn't have to touch, but you want to have your hand looking straight up like you're gonna give someone a high five, and have it right in front of your face. And then I want you to lay it down flat, all the way flat on your piece of paper like this. And families, parents, and caregivers, you can help distribute the pressure and the weight throughout their hands so that it's even, the paint is even along the paper, and so that it looks good when we take it off. And so you're gonna press your hand flat, nice and flat on the paper, and then you're gonna lift it off, and there should be a handprint in front of you. So it looks something like that. And then, first step is you're gonna wanna wash off your hand. So we're gonna wash off our hands together. This is why it's handy to have that paper towel or that washcloth. And there might be a little bit of a red stain or a blue stain on your hand, but it will go away. Just gotta make sure we use washable paint, but most paint is. So once your hand is clean, what I'm gonna have you guys do is, whether you used your left hand or your right hand, you're gonna wanna flip it. And you're gonna wanna flip it so that the thumb is up. And if you guys would like to, feel free to fill in the spaces that your hand didn't quite make it to the paper. You don't have to, you can do whatever you would like to make it unique, but if you want to fill in those spaces and make it connect maybe a little bit more, feel free to do that as well. But, so we want our thumb pointing up at the top of our paper, so that gives us the outline of our fish. Now we're gonna lay it back down on our table, and you guys are gonna take the items that you found within your household, and you're gonna glue them onto your fish in any way that you please. So for me, I'm gonna take one of my buttons, and I'm just gonna put some glue right on there, and then I'm gonna glue it right onto my fish. The only thing is that we want to leave a little bit of space up in the front of our fish to give him or her a face. So we are going to add different stuff to our fish, and we are gonna make it unique. That is the whole point of this entire creation, is to make our fish so unique and to make our fish represent us in the way that we feel. So take whatever you would like and add it to your fish. Make it look any way that you want it to look. I think that I I'm going to add some more yarn to my fish. And once that's done, I might add another button or another bobby pin. But the most important part is that you make it the way that you want to. So it represents you. And then after we add a couple little more items, and you can take as long as you want. You can pause the video and work on your fish as long as you want, and just keep adding stuff until you think it looks good, until you think it represents how you feel and who you are. So once we are done adding stuff, and this is good too because keep that washcloth nice and close just in case we get glue or whatever your other items might bring. And then the last step is we are going to take our marker, and it doesn't have to be black, but black is going to be the best one that shows up. So I am going to give my little fish an eye right here and have him look forward. Might even give him an eyebrow, just because I would like my fish to have an eyebrow, but yours does not have to. And I'm gonna give him a smile because I love this book and I love this project and I love teaching you guys. So my little guy has an eyebrow, he has an eye, and he has a smile. And I haven't let my stuff dry, which is why it might be slipping down, but we're just gonna keep it nice and flat for you guys and just give it all the time it needs to dry, and then it will be good to go. And the last challenge I have for you guys is to try to write your name. Now just try, and then you could have your parent or your caregiver write your name right next to it if you feel like it might need it. So I'm gonna write my name at the bottom corner. So the last part, now that we've read our book and we've created our fish that's unique to us, I want you to describe it. I want you guys to make a little video or even send a picture with some writing talking about your fish and how it represents you. You can talk about your thoughts on the book, all the questions I asked earlier, and you can show a picture or a video of your fish talking about all the items that you found and the warm and cool colors that you used and which way you use them on your fish, and then submit it so that I can see all of them, and then I can post it for our families to see and our community to see all of your beautiful, unique fish. Thank you guys so much for watching.